Yes. Thank you so much for tuning in to UBC News tonight. It's me, Michael Jordan Lokomwa. With Elizabeth Nakakoni here, we are to give you news tonight. And thank you so much for being part of the bulletin. Now, in our first story, President Yoweri Museveni has said that expanding and enhancing the quality and the quantity of Uganda's export is the surest way of earning foreign exchange, creating employment opportunities, and improving the citizens' welfare. The president made the remarks in a speech read for him by Prime Minister Dr. Ruhakana Rugunda during the President's Export Award 2017 ceremony organized under the theme, Exporting Growth Opportunities of the Local Industry at Imperial Royal in Kampala. We have the whole event in this report.
President Museveni has called upon exporters in the country to continue investing in value addition, which will improve the manufacturing base and industrialize the economy. He said Uganda's economy has grown over the years in terms of total output realized, tax revenue collected, the products exported, and the market base. He said continuous efforts should be undertaken to recognize and salute those who contribute towards boosting the country's export base.
Our economy has grown over the years from a miserable total output in 1986 of $5.2 billion, that's dollars, to over $27 billion by the end of last year. Correspondingly, in 1986, tax revenue collections were less than 5 billion Uganda shillings, and by the end of the last financial year, total revenue collections have increased to 12.7 trillion shillings.
Museveni said government agencies tasked with the duty to promote investment and enhance exports should strengthen efforts to remove barriers that hinder doing business. He stressed that government will continue to focus on enhancing infrastructure that promotes the country's export business.
The key driver to the expansion of the export market have included efforts aimed at reducing the cost of doing business, such as expanding the road network and investing in infrastructure in general. And this had been referred to earlier, railway, ICT, are now making the national airline. We have put more money into expanding electricity generation from 60 megawatts in 1986 to 900 megawatts today. Upon the completion of the Simba, yes, it is worth clapping that we have moved from 60 megawatts to 900 megawatts. Upon the completion of the Simba, Karuma, Ayago, and Atra, our annual generation of electricity will be about 2,600 megawatts.
The president urged exporters to work on consolidating international trade gains and also comply with the necessary regulatory requirements of both domestic and international markets. He pledged continuous government commitment towards providing an enabling environment for the private sector. The Minister of Trade, Industry and Cooperatives, Amelia Chambade, said Uganda seeks to increase value addition in its exports to enhance foreign exchange and boost industrialization. She thanked government for the enablers it has put in place to promote the country's exports.
For example, we can't take peace and stability for granted. The regulatory framework, of course the internet backbone, the markets, trade facilitation supported by TEMEA, for example, border markets, border posts, single window systems.
The chairman of Uganda Export Promotion Board, Nimrod Wanyela, said the agency has already implemented a 5-year export strategy in line with the country's National Development Plan 2 and the National Export Development Strategy, which will help define the institution's framework to support exports. He said the annual President's Export Award ceremony is aimed at awarding individuals and companies who have engaged and excelled in exporting. The awards were in 3 main categories, namely the Platinum Award, the Gold Award, and the Silver Award. However, special awards were also given to the Woman Exporter of the Year, Regional Exporter of the Year, and Embassy of the Year. Uganda's embassy in Abu Dhabi won the Embassy of the Year award. The overall winner of the President's Export Award 2017 was Hima Cement Limited, which scooped the Platinum Award. Doreen Nasasra, UBC News.
Prime Minister Dr. Ruhakana Rugunda has applauded Seninde Foundation for the very important initiative of imparting skills to the women and the youth of Wakiso District. The Premier was officiating at the second graduation and award ceremony of 3,500 women and youth trained in baking and catering, hairdressing and fashion design by the Seninde Foundation at the Mandela National Stadium in Nambole. They received vocational certificates on their graduation.
Because of hairdressing, and indeed we graduate them from that course. Congratulations. Graduate them today.
Congratulations. The Prime Minister, Dr. Ruhakana Rugunda, while presiding over the graduation ceremony, said government acknowledges and appreciates the enormous support Seninde Foundation is rendering towards the business, technical and vocational education and training in Uganda. Dr. Rugunda thanked the State Minister for Primary Education and Woman Member of Parliament for Wakiso District, Rosemary Seninde, for providing the necessary skills to the people through her foundation and also fulfilling the NRM manifesto.
That what my sister Seninde is doing in supporting, encouraging this program is indeed implementing the manifesto of the National Resistance Movement and carrying out the directives and vision of His Excellency President Yoweri Museveni. And that's why all of us in government and indeed President Museveni support this great work that she is doing. And in fact, government has only recently decided that the reskilling programs that are carried out in government should be housed in the Ministry of Education, where Honorable Seninde is one of the ministers. This is partly in recognition that knowledge is power. Knowledge is a liberator.
Dr. Rugunda urged the graduates to use the acquired skills and knowledge to liberate themselves from poverty.
When we are moving around the different stalls, I was touched by the great enthusiasm that liberated the people who now say, I had nothing to do, I was not earning, but now I'm producing this and there is market for it. You had the young lady who spoke over there, who told us sometimes they would take a day or two without a meal. But now, with the knowledge she has acquired, with the skills she has acquired, she is able to look after herself and to look after her family. So, in a nutshell, the point I am making is that Honorable Seninde here is putting in practice what we in government and what President Museveni, our president, would like to see happening in every constituency and in every district.
Seninde said it was out of love for her people that she chose to empower them with the necessary knowledge and skills which they can now use to liberate themselves from poverty.
Abantu baffe tubawe skills. Tubawe abantu bandyagadde okukola naye kabe kasinga ekyokukola kye batamanyi. Beetaaga okuyamba n'olwekyo n'ennyongera amaanyi okulaba nti programu President Museveni gy'ayimbirira gye yatandika eya Skilling Uganda katugitwalire ddala ne ku muntu waffe owa wansi eyasoma n'ataasoma bonna bannayuganda balina okwenoonyeza emirimu. Kale nno ne mbeera motivated ne ntandika programu eno abantu bange njagala kwanjulira taata bonna abasomye bakola abasinga obungi almost 80% bekozesa abasooka okusoma abo bo bali wala bampa obujulizi buli kiseera nange nengulumiza ekitiibwa kya Mukama.
The graduates were also addressed by the Minister for Kampala, Betty Kamya, who urged the people of Wakiso to guard jealously the peace and security which was ushered in by President Yoweri Museveni. Report compiled by Apollo Munyinda for UBC News.
The Ministry of Health will investigate the rising cases of cataracts among children in Uganda. The Director of Clinical Services at the Ministry, Dr. Charles Olara, disclosed this at the North India Cultural Association Medical Camp at Mulagal Hospital Eye Department, as Samuel Galandi reports.
Over 50% of cataract surgeries that the North India Culture Association in Uganda has carried out at Mulago Hospital are children. Dr. Ravindran Kaningat, whose organization has carried out around 400,000 cataract surgeries worldwide, says this trend is only unique to Uganda.
The population we have done is around 50% is of children, which is children as low as 1 year. This I have not seen in my experience doing this kind of a camp in India. So I really surprised why this is happening.
This calls for investigations into the cause and possible preventive measures of cataracts among children. The Director of Clinical Services, Dr. Charles Solara, has said the Ministry of Health will take it up.
We have also noted with definitely great concern that we have a very high incidence of juvenile cataract. I think definitely we're going to look at research and see what are the contributors. We know there are those which we cannot explain, which we call idiopathic. We know probably there are genetic components, but we also know if like a mother has got diabetes, but also want to look at what are the other associations which are on. So we are all going to do that so that there will be also an arm of research which we think we should be able to collaborate.
The North India Culture Association in Uganda has carried out around 100 free cataract surgeries after diagnosing over 9,000 patients from camps in Rushere, Fort Poto, Lugazi, Mitiana and Kampala slums.
Vision correction, we don't hold them here, we immediately give them free spectacles and then they move on. There are others who have allergic conditions or we have eye condition called glaucoma. So once we identify those conditions, they are given medicines. So there are medicines also being distributed free of cost to them.
And we have almost checked 9,000 patients, and out of that we found 445 under the cataract operation, and out of 445 we have done almost 270 operations we have already done so far.
Muzei Mubakari Kato from Bukomansimbi district is one of the beneficiaries. He lost vision some 3 years ago to a clouding in the eye, and this has been corrected through a surgery. A cataract is a clouding of the lens in the eye that leads to loss of vision. Most cataracts are related to aging and are very common in older people, a trend that seems to be changing in Uganda to younger ones. Samuel Garandi, UBC News.
Initiative there. But away from that, the Coalition for the Rights of Persons with Disabilities Activism in Uganda plans to recall all their representatives from Parliament on allegations of misrepresentatives. The Executive Director CRPDA Ouma Dennis says that those affiliated to various political parties have failed them. He, however, urged persons with disability countrywide to come out and take up leadership positions to reduce the current discrimination in all sectors.
Disability make 12.5% of the country's population, though they continue to be discriminated against. The Coalition for the Rights of Persons with Disabilities Activism is dissatisfied with the way the PWD's Act 2006 was handled.
Note that for the last over 8 years, there is a proposal to amend the Persons with Disabilities Act. It has been pending. We have all witnessed bills come to Parliament, be debated upon and passed. But to our dismay, and complete frustration. We see that government has not been sensitive enough to address our proposed amendments as enacted and also copied from the United Nations Convention for the Rights of People with Disabilities. Filling out court redress on the matter, we know that the process leading to the enactment of the law left out many of our brothers and sisters in the disability fraternity who are blind, cannot.
Among the proposed amendments for Article 20 of the PWD's Act include access to health, education and livelihoods. The organization's spokesperson Muhwana Noah attributes pupils' poor performance in the just released PLE results to discrimination.
Go to a school that does not have even ramps. You go to a school that doesn't have even toilets. As basic as that, you go to a school that talks about inclusive education and accessing government funds through UP and USE, but has never employed a teacher of sign language interpretation. You can imagine. And yet you have admitted children and all students that need those services. We have children that have mental retardation. They need to have teachers particularly trained in that kind of service.
The organization plans to hold a public lecture about the late James Monda, saying he was instrumental to promoting their interests. I'm Nafka Farida and Gloria Gwetaminji reporting.
The Inspector of Schools in Machinde Division, Joseph Mwanje, has urged teachers in private and government schools to develop their pupils' talents. The inspector was officiating at celebrations to mark 7 years of existence of Life Care Academy in Machinde Division.
Life Care Academy Makinde administration has celebrated results of the abandoned, orphaned and needy children from Makinde slums in Kampala.
What helped us to get those very good grades? One, we were so cooperative as the teachers, which helped us so much really to be with that vigor to teach our candidates.
Aisha Namagembe, Ivas Mukibi and Bright Rahima, among others, scored super grades even when they were needy and vulnerable. The school director, Emmanuel Kimuli, encourages parents to take responsibility of their children despite the tough environment.
The three of them, they are abandoned by their fathers, and one of them who performed very, very well, he's an orphan. So he couldn't manage if God didn't put us here.
The inspector of schools Makinde Division, Joseph Mwanje, was impressed by the academic excellence of Life Care Academy, and he encouraged teachers to develop the talents of children while at school. He was officiating at the celebrations to mark 7 years of existence and excellence in the just released 2017 PLE results.
There is something they are carrying out, because the role of the teacher is to identify the talent and develop the talent.
The school director says that he ventured in education not for financial gains, but because of his passion to help vulnerable children.
I have a zeal for Ugandan children to have quality education. And ever since I began having schools, we've been passing in the first grade and second grade. It's on record.
Founded by Side Christian Ministries to provide education to the needy children living in slums, Life Care Academy was the best performing private school in the division according to the recent PLE results. Abraham Waita, UBC News.
Yes, thank you so much for watching. This is News Tonight. At this point, we'll take a very short break. Do not miss whatever we have for you on return. News tonight. We'll come back from the break. Now, increasing cases of forest depletion is a major challenge for environmental conservation in Uganda. It is against this backdrop that people are now being encouraged to plant more trees and also practice forestation in order to mitigate the negative effects of climate change. We have it in this report.
Forest cover depletion in Uganda continues to worry stakeholders in forest conservation. It's against that backdrop that the public is being called upon to take serious and real interest in planting of trees in order to mitigate climate change effects. One such person who has taken keen interest in reforestation is Laban Bakas Rutare, a model farmer in Ivanda district. Mr. Rutare believes replanting the destroyed forests is the only solution to Uganda's environment problems.
I'm really advising all those people who do simple works that are not profitable, do gambling in sports betting, this whatever, which are not sustainable, and even people who are in town without any really significant good jobs, they should go back to land. But they must go back to land when they are educated, when they have land, and we are here as consultants. We can share experience, not only a simple one, but very researched and documented. Land is our source of wealth.
Rutare is an all-round farmer who engages in poultry, beekeeping, banana and mango growing on 500 acres of land registered under Bakas Development Center Farm in Vigera, Ivanda municipality. He also boasts of 100-acre eucalyptus and mivule tree forest for both commercial and environment protection purposes.
8 years for one to get good money. And so you cannot just wait for an 8-year project. You must have other projects that give you money on a monthly basis, on an annual every year, so that life goes on. And I tell you, if I said I'm a millionaire, don't joke. And don't take it lightly. We must be people who are serious for sure. And once we do this at every household, I think Uganda will change. Uganda will not change from the head, from the center.
UBC TV talked to some residents in the area who are beneficiaries of the Bakas Development Center and had this to say.
To be successful, because we are as a group, we are one. We are one and we are disciplined.
According to my thing, in the future it's going to contribute much to us who are just growing. And
Samuel Garandi and Frederick Salongo Kasivante, UBC News.
A section of HIV/AIDS pupils in Namuwongo attained first grades despite being sickly during primary living examinations. 7 pupils of St. Cecilia and Paul Learning Center scored first grades and 15 passed in second grade.
An estimated 38,789 pupils and teachers were by close of 2016 living with HIV/AIDS according to a report by the Line Ministry. Despite increased efforts against children involving in sex-related activities at early age before marriage, some pupils hid against the call. The Uganda AIDS Commission estimates that about 1 million children are infected with HIV/AIDS. In the recent 2017 primary living examinations, almost half of the 15 candidates sitting for PLE at St. Cecilia and Paul Learning Center were HIV positive.
Over 4 candidates who had HIV in primary 7. But as a school, we have different stakeholders. We have the counselors, we have the teachers, we have the social workers. So these children, all the time, in case they have any problem, at least we have somebody to handle. If the problem needs guidance and counseling, the counselor is there.
Despite being sickly, the HIV-infected children scored first grades with only 8 pupils attaining super second grades.
We are prepared for anything that the child, whoever fell sick, the meeting point clinic is there to cater for those students.
Mama Noelina Namukisa, the founder, meeting point and director Census Area, expounds why she supports HIV-infected communities. Some of the pupils that scored good grades are to get full bursaries till they finish education.
All of this I command it, just I give it thanks to God.
Idris Lukwago and Dagala Setumba reporting for UBC News in Kampala.
President Yoweri Kaguta Museveni has said that the National Resistance Movement is a party that looks at politics as a contest of ideas. The president made the remarks at a ceremony hosted by the Usuk County Member of Parliament, Peter Ogwang, to hand over the pledges he made to his constituents during the parliamentary campaigns. President Museveni said that in any country, the political actors should allow debate so as to give people a chance to make an informed choice. The president said that after realizing in 1965 that politics in Uganda was based on religion and tribe, they advised government that was very dangerous politics that would eventually lead to its collapse. However, the government failed to heed to their advice and they pulled out of those political parties and started their own party that would promote programs for development and not tribalism or religion. He said that even when fighting Idi Amin, some people supported the idea of assassinating him and others opposed it. In the end, those against killing him won. President Museveni added that when disarming the Karimojong, there were people like David Pulkor and Western NGOs who opposed the move, saying that the Karimojong should only be disarmed if the Turkana in Kenya, the Morana in Ethiopia, the Topath in Sudan, and the Pokot, because it would make them weak against their enemies when they evaded. The spokesperson, Uganda Prison Service, says that they are ready to execute the order to hang prisoners on death row as soon as the president appends his signature on the lists currently on his desk. A UBC News team interviewed Uganda Prison Service spokesperson Frank Baine, and we have the report.
Convicts across Uganda prison facilities may soon feel the hangman's noose once President puts his recent comment into action. The last execution in Uganda was performed in 1999 when Awan Haji Mustafa Sebirumbi was scaffolded. According to the president's statement on Thursday, the law might be revised for purposes of checking on the ever-increasing murder cases in the country.
And I will tooth for the tooth, especially for the ones who kill people.
According to the president, ill-minded people seem to be doing what they do best. After all, nothing is done to them even after conviction. Uganda Prison Service spokesperson Frank Baine says the president's message was bad news to those on death row.
I can assure you a number of them couldn't even eat. So the machine is, the scaffold is ready, the people are ready. It's only the presidential directive that remains.
Usually, before one qualifies for hanging, they are given a chance to appeal their conviction for purposes of removing all doubts in the ruling.
Even those who don't have lawyers, the state assists them to have a lawyer to write what they want to write to the authorities.
Even after this process, Article 121 of the Constitution provides that a convict can be pardoned as long as the prerogative of mercy and advocacy committee of government suggests so. It is until all these provisions are satisfied that a convict will be taken to the gallows. Citing the Chigula case of 2009 that lifted the death sentence as mandatory to being dependent on the discretion of the trial judge, Baine says this to some extent has reduced the number of those that appear on the death penalty list.
These days, actually, the magistrates prefer longer sentences than a death penalty. You find somebody is 50 and they sentence him to 60 years.
Taking to religion, the same legislation is in agreement with the Muslim holy book, the Quran. Nsereko Mutumba, the spokesperson Uganda Supreme Council, insists that as long as there is substantial proof, he sees no reason why one shouldn't be hanged.
It should be proved beyond reasonable doubt, not passing a judgment that someone has been killed and after some years they say that no, we were in the wrong. But otherwise, it's permissible in Islam, as I have told you, Surah Baqarah, this is the second surah here, chapter 178. You kill someone, you are killed.
However, Mutumba lashed out at human rights activists for what he described as fronting rights of the selected few at the expense of other people's rights.
I have heard these human rights people agitating for what, but now, human right is not one-sided. I'm losing my brother, and you are defending someone to be there, you know, to move scot-free. That's not permissible.
Professor Kaiwa of Namrembe Christian Center says that when one is not a first offender, he should not be given another chance.
Of these repeat offenders, very wicked as they are not affected by the consequences. The consequences of their offense does not affect them. They will still want to continue doing it if they have an opportunity. Now, if a person remains in jail for a long time and you say after his life sentence, he won't be exposed to public again.
It is against this backdrop that Professor Kaiwa comes in to strongly support President Museveni's new proposal.
If he didn't kill Goliath, it would mean the whole nation will be at the ransom of that criminal, Goliath. When Goliath was killed, no new Goliaths came and put Israel at a ransom. But there were so many of them who were angry enough to kill the Israelites. And if Goliath had not been killed, the Israel nation would not be in existence now. It would have been killed, destroyed by the Philistines. So it's very...
Once a convict is shortlisted for hanging, the hangmen, who are prison wardens, are treated to a refresher course despite being ready all the time.
And when the exercise is on, they are called, given a refresher course, and they do their work, and they go back to the other ordinary prison's work.
To the convict, enough time of about 3 days is allocated for their relatives to visit and share last moments.
The 72 hours after the president has signed is a very, very packed time. The relatives are invited, the religious leaders are invited, the doctors come in. Even when you are sick, they treat you. If you die of fever when you are supposed to be for hanging, then you have not met your sentence.
Baine explains that after execution, the body remains government property, though there are circumstances under which the body can be given to the relatives.
In fact, nenja ulirundi neboba bagambye nti bagenda kuteeka kalaba n'ofa omusujja omulambo bagutwala mu ggwanika ne baguwa abeewamwe kubanga oba tofudde kalaba.
Mr. Baine says as a rehabilitating institution, they would be pleased to see that these people live positively after their prison sentence, though he is quick to distinguish between personal feelings and what the law says. Dorcas Kimono, UBC News.
Yes, in business, the country director Build Uganda, Joseph Bagambaki, says that they are focusing on building more schools. This was at a function to appreciate cohort groups working in communities and launching a new 2018 team at a function officiated by the State Minister for Public Service, David Karubanga.
Take the pleasure to officially launch the graduates for the cohort 2 fellows and launch the cohort 4 fellows. Thank you.
These are some of the volunteers who are at work in the rural communities and those who have already made impact on improving rural education across the country. The country director Build Tomorrow, Joseph Kalisa Bagambachi, is concerned over the high dropout rates characterized by poor teaching methods and early pregnancies, and hence the need for efforts that can shape education.
These people have graduated. Currently we have 80 fellows. Those 80 fellows will be working with another 32 volunteers each, which means that we will be working with 640 extra people. So we have declared this year, 2018, as a year for a greater impact.
The State Minister for Public Service, David Karubanga, cherished Build Tomorrow's efforts that have made a difference in the country's education development.
With such beauty of being change makers, I believe cohort 4 fellows must be excited and eager to unleash their fullest potential. We want to come back here in 2 years time to tell their story.
George Saru, a key stakeholder in the program, said over 23,000 children have so far been enrolled as part of the organization's objectives, and this shows positive efforts towards developing education in the country, he noted. Director of Fellowship Programs Robert Sekad said all the organization is ensuring is to enable children get the desired education. In 2017, Build Tomorrow built 16 community schools, performed 11 groundbreaking ceremonies for construction of new structures, and also built 54 schools. In Build Tomorrow schools, enrollment also increased by over 27,000 learners and registered over 13,000 from communities. Over 400 community education volunteers were trained, and a total of 702 volunteers employed across the country by close of business in 2017. Banonya Cosmos reporting in Kampala.
Yes, on the international scene, recriminations have begun over the failure of the U.S. Senate to pass a new budget and prevent the shutdown of many federal services. A bill to fund the federal government for the coming weeks did not receive the required 60 votes by the deadline of midnight on Friday. President Trump accused the Democrats of putting politics above the interests of the American people. The Democrats blame him for rejecting bipartisan compromise proposals. Both the Republican and Democrat congressional leaders say they will keep talking, and the White House budget chief has expressed optimism that a resolution will be found before Monday. But if not, hundreds of thousands of federal workers face the prospect of no work and shuttered offices at the start of the working week. The last government shutdown was in 2013 and lasted for 16 days. This is the first time a government shutdown has happened while one party, the Republicans, controls both Congress and the White House. But they do not have enough seats in Congress to pass major legislation without at least some support from the Democrats. President Donald Trump often brags that he's done more in his first year in office than any other president. That's a spectacular stretch. But while he's fallen short on many measures and has a strikingly thin legislative record, Trump has followed through on dozens of his campaign promises, overhauling the country's tax system, changing the U.S. posture abroad, and upending the lives of hundreds of thousands of immigrants. A year in, Trump is no closer to making Mexico pay for a border wall than when he made supporters swoon with that promise at those rollicking campaign rallies of 2016. He's run into legislative roadblocks from fellow Republicans, no less at big moments, which is why the Obama-era health law survives wounded but still insuring millions. His own administration's sloppy start explains why none of the laws he pledged to sign in his first 100 days came to reality then, and why most are still aspirational. In the world of sport, after months of uncertainty, Uganda Boxing Federation has elected new office bearers to take charge of the next 4 years of the game. The entire new executive was unopposed and is led by Moses Muhanji, who promises a paradigm shift.
Moses Muhanji will be deputized by Fred Kavuma, while Paul Ayas is first vice president in charge of administration. Simon Barigo retains his general secretary position, William Buyondo is organizing secretary, Suleiman Senyondo is publicist, and treasury is handled by Richard Muhumuza, while Rose Nanyonjo is the woman representative on the executive. It should be noted that this election is long overdue, with the earlier date not realized because there was no authorization from the world body IBA, which this time round sent Kenya's William Kameta as overseer.
To those who are going to be elected today, we are going to invite you to come and beat you up, because we are going to beat you up. So that our boxers can grow, we can give them competition. If after this election we are going to agree, I'm going to bring my Kenyan team here before the Commonwealth. We have a challenge here. We must make the sport a way of life. And a small advice, let us take boxing out of the halls. I have done it in Kenya, it is very successful.
In his appreciation message, incoming President Moses Muhanji talks reconciliation and the sport's progress, especially at grassroots level.
Number one is going to be on entrenching boxing back to the grassroots, because that has been missing out. Then the other issue is going to be seeking for sponsorship, because you cannot operate without resources. We need to have lots of money coming so they can be able to operate. Then the other issue is going to be streamlining activities of the federation. In the past regime, they have been having issues of conflict of interest. You find one is a publicity, he wants to be the president, he wants to be the treasurer. So all those things we need to streamline them so that people can work where they're supposed to work. Know their duties, know their capacities, and be able to move to boxing. So that's going to be immediate. As soon as we start working by Monday, then other things are going to come up as we do. Yeah.
But his soft-spoken nature notwithstanding, news is rife that the former president, Kenneth Kimugu, has also held an electoral process today, which by news time we couldn't verify. John Barnes, Sentamo, reporting.
Over 200 youngsters have taken part in the climax of Kids League organized by the Edgar's Youth Program. This year's Kids League was played at Aga Khan and Lower Bible University playgrounds.
The Kids League is the most attractive and organized league for the youth below the age of 16. The players exercise their talents and skills under the watchful eye of qualified coaches. The players were selected from different centers of Edgar's Youth Program of Kiwatule, Nakawa Old Kampala and Africa Bible University. The technical organizer of the Kids League, Joseph Opio, says the program aims at assessing the progress of the players.
The main reason why we engage such a league is one is to bring the children together from the different programs, and then also try to see some of the best players, and then we see how we can promote them to other leagues.
Old Kampala under-11 team emerged champion after beating Kiwatule 4-3 in sport kicks after a 1-1 draw in normal time. Africa Bible University lost 5-1 to Old Kampala in the under-9 category. Jordan Ochan is the best player, while Isma Remo won the top scorer's accolade. Report compiled by Haruna Mutesasira.
Black Pirates Rugby Club has scored a century +2 in its Nile Special Premiership Rugby League game against Ginger Hippos at the Legends Rugby Club. The victory, secured obviously with a bonus point, was purely a combined team effort as tries amidst excellent display of rugby prowess engineered a much-needed win. Going into this game, Black Pirates knew only victory would keep them close to table leaders Betway Cobs, that was magnificent in victory over Makerere Impis on Friday. Pursuit to chase Cobs must have been high on the agenda because Pirates playing here in the black and red home kit started early, and tries by Timothy Chisiga, Daniel Konowira, Isaac Rujumba and birthday boy Solomon Senlija delivered a rare century +2 victory. In other games, Buffaloes edged Warriors 31-17, while Hima Cement Heathen didn't travel in vain to Plascon Mongers in Entebbe after securing a 2015 victory. Over 8 rounds of play, Betway Cobs lead the standings on 35 points, followed by Black Pirates on 33. Shell Rimula Rhino is third, while Hima Cement Heathens, with victory over Plascon Mongers, are now fourth. North Korea will send 22 athletes to compete in 3 sports at the Winter Olympics in South Korea in February. The two countries agreed a breakthrough deal earlier this month in the first high-level talks in 2 years. The International Olympic Committee hosted a meeting in Switzerland on Saturday to discuss North Korea's participation in Pyeongchang. IOC President Thomas Bach announced the two nations would march together at the opening ceremony on the 9th of February 2018. Describing the agreement as a milestone in a long journey, Bach also confirmed that the North and South Korea will be allowed to field a unified women's ice hockey team at the Games. North Korea will also be represented in skating and skiing. The two countries had already agreed to compete under a unified Korean flag. Yes, my biggest story tonight is of the two Koreas participating with the same flag. That is a blockbuster story tonight. With Elizabeth Nakakoni here on the sign language, the whole team in the house, my name is Michael Jordan Lukomo. We thank you so much for watching, and that way we pledge to catch you in our other programs. Good night. Bye-bye.